Good evening, world. I wanted to jump on before I head to bed and give a review on episode 5 of Hulu's Furious, starring Emmy Rossum. And I have to say, I still have nothing but good things to say about this series. Still well written, and I have zero negative critiques about the acting. So let's get into it. So we left off at episode 4 with a confrontation between Marshall and Alice, and we find out that she is going to be taken off the case. So she's trying in episode 5 to do everything to be able to stay on the case. And Nora is working her way back into my graces. We find out that she was cornered and forced to take off the case, or to be taken off the case, or to close the case. So she's kind of back channeling to tell Alice what to do to be able to get back on the case and be reinstated. There's even a fun scene where Alice says she's going to get coffee, and Nora tells her, "Don't take too long getting coffee." So she's working her way back onto my good side. And Alice is doing everything behind the scenes, and she even has this really awkward scene with Marshall where she has him come over and she's trying to get him to flip his sobriety, and she somewhat succeeds. We don't know the outcome of it because he storms out of her apartment and we don't get any resolution on that in episode 5. And Alden has proposed to Catherine and she accepted, and I almost feel like she actually does genuinely care for him. I think she's definitely using him because he is shelter and he obviously is obsessed with her. So, but I do think she genuinely cares. And I will state the reason why when I get towards the end of what happens at the end of episode 5. So they have Hal, the Easton's family attorney, and she plans on torturing him. And she tells Alton that he is her uncle that is detoxing. So if he hears any screams or weird noises, don't be alarmed. That's why they're making the noises. So so Catherine and Hal are exchanging communicate. They're just, it's like a almost like a cat and mouse game, like a psychological game, and she's trying to obviously get answers what happened to her. She gets more into that she's like lost a lot of memories of things that happened while she was being trafficked, and that's because on multiple occurrences she was physically assaulted and choked, and sometimes choked to unconsciousness, so she doesn't remember things. She did say she was in love with Isabel, and the it gets a little more into the dynamic of the relationship. Alice is also doing some more digging on that the hospital bracelet, or what we thought was a hospital bracelet, but we come to find out was a drop-off center for mothers that were relinquishing their maternal rights. But the bracelet, some of the numbers got washed off, and that was where the confusion of what the bracelet was and what it symbolized and where it came from. So we're starting to get more and more layers. So we know that Isabel had a baby, and we know that she died. We don't know how she died yet, and we know that these traffickers did something to dispose of her body, which was later found on the beach and was supposed to be investigated by the FBI. So we know there's a lot of things higher up that are trying to stop the further investigation into this case. Um, so Alden eventually realizes that Catherine is not telling the truth, and she does confess that that Hal is not her relative, and Hal actually ends up getting out of his restraints, and he's crawling through Alden's home, and he is not doing well. And they have one final altercation where Catherine kills Hal, but not before Hal was telling her that he has blackmail on the Easton family that he's been gathering for a long time, just as kind of an insurance policy, and that they should work together. But it was all a ploy. I mean, I think he obviously had the information, which he did, but he wasn't going to plan on working with Catherine after she already had kidnapped him. So the scene, and this is why I think she actually does have some feeling of love or care for Alden, because when she killed Hal, I thought she was walking towards him like she was going to kill him, but she didn't. But she did hightail her butt out of there, which was probably, well, is for the best for her, because the other nurse that takes care of Alden saw her picture on the FBI's people of interest, and she called in and left a tip. So at the end of the episode, we end up with the FBI on her heels, really close on her heels, and Alice getting closer to figuring out where Catherine is, who she is, and what's going on with the story. And we end up with Alice making a pit stop and at the maternal center where women were dropping their babies off. And she's writing in the board and checking in. At first, she almost blew her cover because when she walked in, she was trying to say, "No, I'm a police officer." But she actually signed in the sheet like she was there for help. And she looks in the mirror, and guess who's sitting in the lobby area? Catherine. And that is where the episode ends. So I am interested to see how this is going to play out, if Alice is going to try to play Catherine and like gain her trust. What's going to happen. But this series is so good, and I need people to watch it because we need a season 2, because we only have 8 episodes. So I'm pretty sure they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger. So I need everyone to watch. Everyone, please, please, please. My other thing I noticed, and this was another reason why I think Catherine might actually really care for Alden, is because remember in episode 2 when she was combing the daughter of one of her victims' hair, and she was talking about she didn't have like feelings in her hands, and just talking about like all the sensations and like issues that she had. And when Alden proposed, she said, "I have feeling in my hands again." And I caught that. So I'm wondering if that's just some type of psychosomatic like symptom or what. But again, yeah. So that is a recap of episode 5 of Hulu's Furious, starring Emmy Rossum. So get on it, watch it if you haven't yet. Bye.